The sun was just rising over the quiet town of Prescott, Arizona. The orange light touched the rooftops and made the dusty ground look like gold. In a small room above a local museum, 38-year-old map expert Daniel Reed was cleaning out old boxes. He had been working there for 5 years, helping catalog historical items that no one cared much about until today. Daniel found a wooden box hidden in the back of a cabinet, small and covered in layers of dust. There were no labels, just a strange symbol burned into the top of a compass, with an extra arrow pointing southwest. Curious, Daniel opened it slowly. Inside, he found old papers, a faded photograph, and a rolled-up leather map. The map looked ancient. The edges were torn, and the ink had faded in places. But something about it felt different. He unrolled it on his desk. His eyes widened. It showed the map of the United States. But there was something strange on the bottom left corner. Right where Arizona meets Mexico and California, there was a new boundary line. Inside that space it said, Territory of Jacoba, Future State. Daniel leaned closer. His heart began to race. He had studied hundreds of maps before, but he had never seen this name Jacoba. He flipped through the rest of the papers. There was a letter dated 1893, written by a U.S. government official. It talked about plans to annex a secret territory for military use, but the letter ended abruptly, as if something stopped the plan. Could this really be a lost U.S. state? He whispered to himself. Daniel scanned the old photo. It showed a group of men standing near a border sign that read, Welcome to the Territory of Jacoba, United States government property. Behind them, rocky hills and desert stretched into the horizon. He quickly checked the digital archives. There was nothing online. No records of Jacoba. No mentions in official government history. It was like someone had tried to erase it from the books. Daniel's hands trembled slightly. This was big, huge even. Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door. His friend Lena Chavez walked in. She worked at the museum too, and was an expert in regional history. Still digging through junk, she joked. Daniel waved her over. Look at this. I think I found something. Crazy. She stepped closer, and as she looked over the map in the photo, her smile faded. This can't be real, she said slowly. Jacoba, I've never heard of it. Daniel nodded. Exactly. Death. That's what makes it real. Someone tried to hide it. Eh? Lena picked up the letter. She read it carefully, her eyes scanning each word. Then she paused and looked up. Do you realize what this means? This is true? The U.S. nearly had a 51st state. One no one's ever heard of. Daniel nodded. And I want to find it. Lena raised an eyebrow. You mean, go there? He pointed to a set of GPS coordinates written in the corner of the map, in faded ink. It's here, Daniel said. Right in the middle of nowhere. No roads, no towns, just desert and mountains. Lena shook her head. That's dangerous. And what if it's nothing? Daniel smiled. Then we come back. But if it's something we could rewrite history. Later that night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He stared at the map on his desk, lit only by a small lamp. The symbol on the box kept coming back to him, the extra compass point. What did it mean? The next morning, he packed the map, photo, and letter into his backpack. He sent copies to a hard drive and stored it in his safe. Then he called an old friend, Rico Burns, a former military vehicle racer now working as a mechanic in Nevada. I need someone who can handle rough terrain, Daniel told him. Rico laughed. You found another map, didn't you? This one's different. It might lead us to a lost state. There was a long pause. Then Rico said, All right, I'm in. Daniel smiled. Things were moving fast. By the end of the week, their team began to form. Lena brought her historical knowledge. Rico brought his custom-built 4x4 vehicle. Daniel had the map and the dream. But they needed one more person, someone who could crack into GPS systems and get satellite data. That's when Lena suggested Sky, 22-year-old tech genius and hacker who lived off-grid and hated governments. She's weird, Lena said. But if anyone can unlock hidden coordinates, it's her. Daniel nodded. Let's bring her in. As they gathered for the first time in a quiet desert diner, none of them knew just how far this discovery would take them. What began as a dusty old map in a forgotten box was about to become a high-speed journey into the unknown. And somewhere out there, in the vast open desert, The lost territory of Jacoba waited, silent, forgotten, and full of secrets. The old diner stood alone at the edge of the desert highway. Dust swirled in the hot wind, and the sound of trucks passing by was the only noise. Inside, the air smelled like coffee, grease, and something fried. A fan turned slowly on the ceiling, barely moving the hot air. Daniel sat at a corner table with Lena. They had the map spread out in front of them, hidden under a newspaper. They didn't want anyone to see it yet. "So Rico's coming?" Lena asked, stirring her coffee. Daniel nodded. "He should be here any minute." Right then, the door swung open with a loud creak. A tall man in dusty boots and sunglasses walked in. His beard was trimmed, but rough. His jacket was covered in patches from races, military units, and off-road clubs. Rico Burns. He looked around, spotted Daniel, and walked over with a smile. "You always find weird stuff," Rico said as he pulled out a chair. "What is it this time?" "Alien treasure," Daniel laughed. "Worse, a lost U.S. state." Rico raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" Daniel showed him the photo and the map. Rico studied them closely, his eyes narrowing. "I've driven every inch of Arizona. Never seen anything like this." Lena leaned in. "That's the point. It was erased." Rico nodded slowly. "All right, I'm in. But if we're going off-road where no one's been in 100 years, we'll need my beast." He pulled out his phone and showed them a photo of his modified off-road truck. Massive tires, reinforced steel body, extra fuel tanks, satellite system. It looked like it could survive a war. "This baby runs on anything and can go anywhere," Rico said with pride. Daniel smiled. "Perfect. We just need one more person." Lena sighed. "You're not going to like it." Daniel frowned. "Who?" "Sky." Daniel blinked. "Sky the hacker." "She's not just a hacker," Lena said. "She's a code breaker, a GPS engineer, and a data thief. She can break into government satellites in 5 minutes. She's also kind of intense," Lena added. Daniel paused. "Can we trust her? She hates the government. She want to know what they're hiding." Later that night, Lena sent a message on a secret chat app. 20 minutes later, a reply came. "Meet me at the junkyard. Come alone. Guy." The next day, Daniel drove to the junkyard on the edge of town. It was quiet, full of broken cars and old machines. At the back, inside a rusty trailer, was Sky. She looked nothing like a typical hacker. She had short purple hair, black boots, and a backpack full of wires and gadgets. She was sitting in front of 5 monitors, typing fast. "You're Daniel," she said without looking up. "I read your files. I didn't send any files. You're not very hard to find." Daniel frowned. "I have a map. A lost state. I need your help with GPS data." Sky finally turned and looked at him. "Is this a joke?" He handed her the map and the letter. She stared at them, silent for a long moment. Then she smiled. "This is cool. Can you help?" asked. "I already ran the coordinates," she said. "They lead to a dead zone. No signals, no records. It's like the satellites avoid it." Daniel's heart beat faster, so it's real. Sky stood up and grabbed her gear. "Let's go find out." A few hours later, the full team met again: Daniel, Lena, Rico, and Sky. They stood around Rico's massive off-road truck. Daniel unrolled the map on the hood. "We head out tomorrow morning," he said. "It's 300 miles of harsh desert. No towns, no fuel stops, no help." Sky smiled. "I downloaded maps from old satellites. There are weird shapes out there, like buildings under the sand." Rico nodded. "We'll take extra water, fuel, and supplies. I'll handle the road." Lena looked at the group. "This feels like more than just a road trip," Daniel agreed. "It is. If we're right, we'll uncover something the government buried over 100 years ago." As the sun set behind them, painting the sky in deep orange and red, they climbed into the truck and began to load their gear. The journey had begun. But none of them knew what really waited out there. Old maps, broken borders, forgotten truths, and maybe, just maybe, 51st state that time tried to erase. The desert morning was quiet but tense. The air was dry, and the wind carried fine sand over the cracked highway. The sky was clear, perfect for what lay ahead. Daniel, Lena, Rico, and Sky stood around Rico's beast of a truck-hand all-terrain monster that looked more like a tank than a car. It had extra tires, water tanks, solar panels, and GPS trackers. Sky had even added a drone on the roof for aerial views. Daniel checked the map again. The red X sat deep in a blank zone of the Arizona-Mexico border, a place with no roads, no people, and no cell towers. Just endless desert. Everybody ready? He asked. Rico threw his duffel into the back. Truck's full. Got enough food and water for 5 days, maybe 6. Sky double-checked her laptop. Satellites are blind in that area. We'll lose signal in about 70 miles. I set up a local network between our phones and the drone. Lena zipped her bag. I still can't believe this place might exist. If we really find it. Daniel nodded. We will. They climbed into the truck. Rico sat behind the wheel, Daniel next to him. Lena and Sky took the back seats with laptops and notebooks spread across their laps. As the engine roared to life, dust kicked up behind them like smoke. The team rolled out onto the open highway, heading straight for the unknown. By midday, they had left civilization behind. Towns became gas stations, and gas stations became nothing. Just open desert. Cactus. Dust devils. Empty roads. According to the map, Daniel said, holding up a printout, we need to exit the main road soon. We'll hit an old mining trail. From there it's all off-road, Rico grinned. Time to test the beast. He turned off the highway and into a dried-out riverbed. The ride became rough. The truck bounced and rattled as it rolled over rocks and dips. Dust clouds trailed behind them. Sky flew the drone overhead, tracking their position. Guys, she said, watching her screen. Something weird. I'm picking up tire tracks. Tire tracks? Daniel asked. Out here. Yeah, fresh. Maybe a day old. Someone else is heading the same direction. Everyone looked at each other. Think someone else found the map? Lena asked. Maybe, Daniel said. Or maybe they're guarding it. The road narrowed between 2 sharp cliffs. Rico slowed down. This looks like an old pass, he said. It's probably used by smugglers or miners. Suddenly the truck lurched. Bang! A tire hit a hidden spike. Rico swore and pulled over. They jumped out and inspected the damage. A metal spike, clearly man-made, was stuck deep in the rubber. Trap, Rico said. Someone doesn't want visitors. Sky looked around. We're not alone out here. Rico replaced the tire quickly. As they worked, Daniel took another look at the map. His fingers traced the faded lines, now matching the hills around them. This area was marked as restricted back in the 1930s, he said. Military land. Then it just disappeared from records. Once the tire was replaced, they moved on.
Ow.
The land grew stranger, more silent, less natural. They passed strange rock piles, old fences, and rusted-out signs to faded to read. By sunset, the team reached a wide valley surrounded by sharp cliffs. The map showed a trail leading straight through it into the heart of the mystery. But Sky froze. Drones picking up movement, she said. About 2 miles ahead. A vehicle, dark windows, no plates. Rico looked at Daniel. Still think we're the first ones here. No, Daniel said. But we have to keep going. They turned off all lights and moved slowly, hiding behind rocks and dunes as they drove. The sky turned orange, then deep purple as night came. The stars lit the valley like tiny fires. Then, in the distance, they saw it. An old structure. Half buried in sand, a border post wooden, broken, but still standing. On the sign, faded but visible, U.S. territory of Jacoba, military entry only. They stopped the truck and stared in silence. It's real, Lena whispered. It's really real. Daniel stepped out, walking slowly toward the sign. He touched the wood, ran his hand over the letters. This was proof, the kind of proof that changed history. But then they heard it. An engine. Lights flashed on behind them. Black SUV was speeding straight toward their truck. No plates, Sky shouted. Same one from the drone. Rico jumped behind the wheel. Hold on! The SUV accelerated, trying to block their escape. Rico slammed the gas. The off-road truck growled like a beast, jumping over rocks and cutting through sand like water. Go, go, Daniel shouted. Tires skidded. Dust flew. The valley echoed with engines and shouts. The chase had begun. And the race to uncover the lost 51st state just got dangerous. The chase lasted nearly 10 minutes, but it felt like an hour. Rico's truck flew over the dry valley floor, kicking up a storm of dust behind it. The black SUV stayed close, headlights bouncing wildly over the rocks. Everyone inside Daniel's truck was silent, holding on as the vehicle jumped and swerved. "They're not giving up," Lena shouted from the back seat. "I've got an idea," Rico said, gripping the wheel tighter. "But it's going to be rough." He made a sharp turn and drove toward a narrow gap between two rocky hills. The SUV followed, but not as smoothly. The truck handled the uneven ground like a pro, but the SUV bounced hard and then, with a loud crash, it slammed into a large boulder. "They hit something," Sky said, checking the drone footage on her laptop. "They're stuck." Rico slowed down once they were out of sight, pulling behind a ridge. He turned off the engine. The truck became quiet again. Only the wind whistled through the rocks. Daniel looked back toward the valley. "We need to move fast before they recover." They climbed out of the truck and walked toward the old border post. The sign was weather-worn but still stood tall. Behind it, they saw pieces of a fence, collapsed watchtowers, and buildings buried halfway in sand. The place looked like a ghost town, forgotten by time. "This is it," Daniel whispered. "The real Jacoba." Lena brushed away some sand from a metal plate near the gate. Faded words came into view. U.S. Department of Territorial Expansion -1892. "Territorial expansion?" Sky asked. "I've never heard of that department." Daniel nodded. "That's because it was shut down and buried in secrecy. Most people think the U.S. stopped adding new land after Alaska and Hawaii, but clearly, something was planned here." They walked further into the ruins. Old buildings stood in silence, some made of stone, some wood. Faded American flags hung limply from broken poles. Bullet holes marked a few of the walls. "Looks like this place saw a fight," Rico said, shining a flashlight into one building. Daniel found a half-collapsed office structure and went inside. Papers were scattered across the floor. Old maps, reports, even a rusted safe in the corner. "Help me with this," he said. Rico came over and forced the safe open with a crowbar. Inside were yellowed documents, military photos, and something wrapped in cloth. Daniel carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a detailed official document. Territory of Jacoba. Proposal for U.S. statehood. Confidential. Everyone gathered around. Daniel read it out loud. "This territory, secured in the interest of national defense and mineral supply, shall be governed by U.S. military administration until full integration is approved by Congress. Civilian presence restricted. Estimated vote for statehood. 1895. Lena's eyes widened. "So they were planning to make this an official U.S. state?" Daniel nodded. "They even had a vote planned. But it never happened." "Why not?" Sky asked. "What stopped them?" He flipped to the next page, a warning memo from the same year. "Local resistance escalating. Border disputes unresolved. Recommendation: suspend operation and seal records. Territory is to remain off-map until further notice." "They abandoned it," Daniel said, "probably to avoid conflict." Rico frowned. "Or to hide something." In another drawer, Lena found a photo album. Inside were images of towns being built, troads, schools, even a courthouse. Hundreds of people had once lived here. "It wasn't just a plan," she said. "They actually started building a real state. And then, it all disappeared." They stepped outside as the wind picked up again. The sky was darker now, stars starting to appear. Sky pointed toward the edge of the valley. "I saw something strange on the drone about a mile that way. Looks like a bunker." Daniel checked the map again. "There's no bunker marked." "Exactly," Sky said. "That's why we need to see it." The team got back in the truck and headed out, driving carefully between rocks and sand dunes. The place was quiet, almost too quiet. They reached the bunker entrance, half buried in sand. A metal door sat crooked in the dirt, slightly open. They entered with flashlights. Inside it smelled like rust and dust. Long metal hallways stretched in both directions. Rooms were filled with old equipment, radios, military gear, boxes marked top secret. In one room, they found a projector and film reels. Sky set it up. The machine flickered to life, and a black and white film played on the wall. It showed us generals in meetings, maps of Jacoba, explosions, and something else, something strange. A group of people standing near a strange device. The footage was too damaged to understand fully, but it didn't look like normal military gear. "What is that?" Lena asked. "I don't know," Daniel said. But they were experimenting with something. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the bunker. A voice shouted from outside. "They found us," Sky whispered. Rico shut off the projector. Back to the truck. Now they rushed out, hearts racing. The night had fully fallen, and the shadows seemed longer than before. Who were these people following them? And more importantly, what were they trying to protect? Whatever the truth was, it had been buried for over a century. Now someone didn't want it uncovered. The team ran through the sand, hearts pounding as shouts echoed behind them. Whoever was chasing them was getting closer. Rico started the truck with one quick turn of the key. The engine roared to life. Daniel jumped into the front seat. Lena and Sky leapt into the back. "Go, go, go," Sky shouted. Tires spun in the sand as Rico slammed the gas. The truck raced away from the bunker. Behind them, flashlights danced in the darkness. Someone fired a warning shot into the air. "They're not military," Lena said, breathing hard. "Too unorganized?" "Then who are they?" Daniel asked. "People who don't want this story getting out," Rico said grimly. They drove in silence for several minutes, dust covering the windows until the valley was far behind them. Finally, they stopped near a tall rock formation that hid them from view. Rico turned off the lights. "We need to rest," he said. "But only for an hour, then we move again." Daniel pulled out the document they found in the bunker and read it under the dim light of his phone. "This is bigger than I thought," he said. "This isn't just a lost territory. There was something they were testing here. Something strange." Sky looked tired but curious. "You saw the film?" "That device in the footage, it didn't look like anything normal. Maybe that's why they buried the whole place." Rico leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. "Doesn't matter. We've seen enough. We bring this back to the world. Let the truth come out." But someone else wasn't so sure. Later that night, Daniel woke up to a strange sound. A soft click, a door. He looked around. Lena and Rico were still asleep, but Sky was gone. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside the truck. The desert was cold now, the stars bright above. Sand crunched under his boots as he followed footprints behind the rocks. Then he saw her skedaddling near a satellite dish she had pulled out from her backpack. She was typing quickly on her laptop, uploading files. "Sky," Daniel asked. She turned fast, clearly startled. "You weren't supposed to see this." "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm sending the files to someone," she said. "I have contacts. People who pay for information like this." Daniel frowned. "You're selling the truth?" "No," she said. "I'm exposing it. Just getting something for myself in return." Daniel stepped closer. "We trusted you." Sky stood up. Her face looked cold in the moonlight. "You think you can just drive into a forgotten state and uncover top-secret files without consequences? Wake up, Daniel. This is dangerous stuff. Governments kill to keep secrets like this buried." He looked at the small satellite dish. "You're giving it to them. The same people who buried Jacoba?" Sky's jaw clenched. "I didn't say who. It's just someone who wants to control the story before it gets out of hand." Daniel stepped forward. "Turn it off." "No." They stared at each other for a tense second. Then click. A sound behind them. Rico stepped out from the shadows, holding his shotgun. "I heard everything." Sky raised her hand slowly. "I wasn't going to hurt anyone. I just wanted insurance." Lena joined them, half asleep, confused. "What's going on?" Daniel explained everything. "Kai's upload her deal." Lena looked heartbroken. "We were a team." "I was helping the team," Sky said, "by keeping us safe. You think people will just let you walk out with proof of a lost U.S. state? You'll be hunted?" "We already are," Rico growled. Sky stared at the three of them. She looked more hurt than angry now. "I just wanted to be ahead of it," she said, "not behind it." Daniel stepped over and shut down the upload. "No one owns the truth," he said. "It belongs to everyone. If we let people like that control it again, we're no better than the ones who buried Jacoba in the first place." Sky sighed and backed away. But when things go wrong, don't say I didn't warn you. They returned to the truck. Quiet now. The mood had shifted. The trust had been cracked. Morning came, painting the sky with pink and gold. The desert looked calm again, but the team knew it was a lie. Daniel sat on a rock, thinking. Lena sat beside him. What do we do now? We keep going, he said. We finish what we started. But can we trust her? Lena asked, glancing at Sky inside the truck. Daniel didn't answer right away. We can watch her. Rico climbed up beside them. According to the map, we're just a few miles from the old Jacoba capital. The central town? Daniel asked. Yeah, Rico said. If we want final proof, real, undeniable proof, Fit'll be there. Daniel stood up and looked across the desert. In the distance, heat shimmered above the sand. They had made it this far. No turning back now. But behind them, inside the truck, Sky stared at her laptop. And on the screen, a single message blinked. Contact confirmed. Upload incomplete. Awaiting next move. The desert was completely dark now. Not a single light for miles. The stars above looked cold and sharp. Wind had died down, and a deep silence covered everything like a blanket. Inside the truck, Daniel couldn't sleep. He stared at the map, still trying to understand what was missing. They had found old buildings, documents, and even a government film, but something still didn't add up. Why erase Jacoba so completely? He whispered to himself. No. What were they hiding? A soft tap on the window broke the silence. It was Sky. She stood outside, holding her laptop in a small metal case. I need your help, she said quietly. Daniel looked at her with caution. Why now? Sky sighed. Because I want to make it right. He opened the door and stepped out. This better not be another trick. It's not, she said. There's something off about those coordinates. I've been thinking about it since we saw the bunker. Sky set her laptop on the truck's hood and opened the metal case. Inside were strange antennas and a compact GPS device with blinking lights. I've hacked into a few satellite systems before, she said. But Jacoba doesn't just not show up. The satellites actually skip over it. Like, they avoid it on purpose, Daniel asked. Exactly, Sky said. It's like a blind spot. She connected the GPS unit to her laptop. The screen glowed with a digital map of the desert. Red boxes marked the area where satellite signals were missing. What if Sky continued? There's something under the surface. Something buried. A facility, maybe. Or a power source. Something big enough to scramble satellite data. Daniel leaned closer. How do we find it? Trick the satellites, Sky said, smiling. She opened a command window on her laptop and began typing fast. Lines of code flashed across the screen. Her fingers danced over the keyboard with practiced speed. What are you doing? Daniel asked. Overriding satellite blind zones? If I can bounce a signal off a nearby weather satellite, I might be able to take a snapshot of the area in infrared. Daniel's eyes widened. Infrared? You'll see heat signatures? Sky nodded. Anything that gives off heat machinery, generators, hidden bunkers will glow, even underground. Minutes passed. Tension hung in the air. Suddenly a message popped up. Signal hijack successful. Receiving data. A red-tinted satellite image appeared on the screen. Most of it was just blank desert, but then they saw it. In the center of the map, hidden beneath a large sand dune, was a massive rectangular shape. Long, flat, hot. Daniel pointed. That's a building. No, Sky said, zooming in. That's several buildings. Connected underground. She marked the location on the map. It's about 10 miles west from here. Daniel stared at it. Why would they bury a base out there? Sky looked up at him. Because whatever's down there was never supposed to be found. Just then, a sharp sound echoed across the desert, like metal clanking or something being dropped. They both froze. Another sound. A footstep. Then silence again. Daniel looked around the truck. We're not alone. Grabbed a flashlight and scanned the area. Nothing moved. The desert stretched out in every direction. Sky quickly unplugged the gear and closed her laptop. Let's get inside. Back in the truck, Lena and Rico had woken up. Rico had a knife in hand. Lena clutched a flashlight. What's going on? She asked. Someone's nearby, Daniel said. And we just found something buried under the sand. Big. Rico didn't wait. He started the truck. Then we're going now. Sky passed the coordinates forward. West. 10 miles. Watch out for dry riverbeds there, deep and hard to see in the dark. As they drove, the air inside the truck was tense. Everyone was silent, focused. The only sound was the engine and the crunch of sand under the tires. Halfway there, they saw something in the distance lights. Not stars, not moonlight, flickering moving lights. Sky zoomed in with the drone camera. Other vehicles, at least 2, maybe 3, headed toward the same location. They saw the signal hack, Rico said. We're racing them to the site. Daniel leaned forward. Then we can't stop. We have to get there first. The road became rougher. Rocks. Dips. The truck bounced hard, but Rico didn't slow down. The lights behind them grew smaller faster on paved roads. Maybe, but not on this terrain. Rico knew these lands too well. Finally, they reached the base of the large dune marked on Sky's map. The truck stopped. Before them stood a small metal door sticking out of the sand. Faded, but real. Sky scanned it. It's a pressure door. This place is sealed tight. Rico stepped out with a crowbar. Let's open it. With one loud pull, the door groaned and slowly cracked open. Cold air rushed out that hadn't moved in decades. Inside, a staircase led downward, into complete darkness. Daniel turned on his flashlight and stepped inside. Welcome to the heart of Jacoba, he said softly. They had reached the center of the mystery. But whatever was waiting below had been kept secret for a reason. The stairwell was cold and dark, carved deep into the earth. Their flashlights flickered over concrete walls covered in dust and cobwebs. Each step echoed like a drumbeat. Daniel led the way, followed by Lena, Sky, and Rico. The air smelled old like metal, mold, and something else they couldn't name. At the bottom, they reached a thick steel door. It had no handle, only a faded sign. Authorized personnel-only territory of Jacoba, U.S. government property. Daniel reached out and pushed. The door creaked open. Inside was a long underground hallway lit by weak emergency lights. Old pipes lined the ceiling. Wires hung loose. Most of the building was still powered by something, though barely. This place is still alive, Sky whispered. They moved carefully through the tunnels. Room after room revealed strange equipment. Rusted control panels, broken radios, machines with blinking lights still active. Then they found a central command room. On the wall was a large map of Jacoba, with red lines crossing through it. Beside the map, a control panel still worked. Sky tapped the dusty buttons. It's a security system, she said. Everything was monitored from here. She pulled up a log. Last access. July 2nd, 1992 personnel. Classified status. Facility locked, secure mode active. That's 30 years ago, Lena said. Daniel looked around. Someone came back after that. He saw movement in the valley. Guards, the SUV, someone's still using this place. Before they could look further, the lights flickered. Then they heard a tangents. Above them, getting closer. They found the entrance, Rico said. We have to move. Sky quickly downloaded files from the terminal onto her laptop. Got them, she said. Military plans, abandoned statehood records, even tests they ran down here. Weird stuff. They rushed back to the stairs and climbed out into the desert night. Behind them, at the top of the next dune, 2 black SUVs, appeared, headlights flashing like eyes in the dark. Run, Daniel shouted. They dove into the truck just as the first SUV began descending the slope. Rico slammed the gas. The engine roared to life. The chase was on. The truck tore across the desert, bouncing over rocks and dry shrubs. Dust exploded behind them. The SUVs followed close. Kicking up sand like smoke. They're fast, Lena yelled. And they know the land. Sky looked at her laptop. They're blocking the nearest highway exit. We'll have to go off-grid all the way. Rico grinned. Off-grid is my middle name. He turned sharply, heading toward the old mining trails marked on Daniel's map. The ground got rougher, sharp turns, cliffs, and narrow passages. Daniel held onto the dashboard. We can't let them catch us. If they get the files, they'll erase Jacoba forever, Lena finished. Behind them, one SUV hit a rock too hard and flipped onto its side. Sparks flew as it rolled. But the other was still gaining ground. Rico took a steep downhill slope, barely keeping control. I hope everyone likes roller coasters, shouted. The truck hit the bottom with a jolt, but stayed upright. The other SUV wasn't so lucky. It skidded too fast and crashed into a boulder, crumpling the front. They're down, Sky yelled. We lost them. Don't celebrate yet, Rico warned. We're not home free. They continued driving for another hour, cutting through dry riverbeds, old fences, and abandoned desert paths. At last, they reached a lonely stretch of cracked highway. Silence returned. Daniel looked back. No headlights followed them now, just open land and distant stars. They finally stopped near a rest area, hidden by tall desert grass. Everyone jumped out, breathing hard. That was insane, Lena said, falling to her knees. Daniel looked at Sky. You got the files, she nodded. Every last one. It's all here. Hidden history, secret tests, plans to create Jacoba as a military-controlled state, and why they buried it. Rico popped open a water bottle and poured it over his head. Well, that was a nice evening drive. Daniel laughed a little, still catching his breath. We have the proof. We made it out, now what? Sky pulled up her phone. I can start the upload now, secure servers, public forums, everywhere. Once it's out there, they can't stop it. Lena nodded. People deserve to know. About Jacoba. About how close the U.S. came to creating a hidden 51st state. But once we press send, Daniel said, there's no going back. Rico looked out at the dark highway. We're never meant to find this place. And now the whole world's about to find out. Sky looked at Daniel. He took a deep breath. Do it. Sky hit the key. Loading bar appeared on her screen. Bloating. 4%, 7%, 10% above them, the stars shone quietly. Somewhere someone powerful would be watching, and everything was about to change. The desert sun was falling, painting the sky with orange and purple streaks. Daniel and the team drove in silence, their truck cutting through a dirt road that wasn't marked on any map. GPS had already gone dark. All they had now was Rico's instincts, Sky's decoded files, and hope. They were headed to the place once known as Jacoba, the so-called 51st state, wiped from history by someone powerful enough to make the world forget. As the truck rolled over a ridge, Sky leaned forward, scanning the landscape. There, she said, pointing ahead. See that? Shapes in the ground? Buildings? The others followed her gaze. From above, it didn't look like much, just half-buried rooftops and twisted roads. But as they got closer, it became clear. Jacoba hadn't been destroyed, had been buried. The town was sunken. Buildings poked out from the sand at sharp angles. Signs faded by decades of wind. Streetlights bent like they'd melted. Daniel parked the truck on what used to be a main street. They stepped out into silence. No birds, no insects, just wind and the crunch of dry sand under boots. Rico squinted at a leaning signpost. This is real. I remember this corner. He walked ahead quickly. The others followed. Past a broken diner half-covered by dunes. Past an old post office with shattered glass. Past what looked like a school-its playground swallowed by the earth. This isn't just a town, Lena said softly. It was alive, and stopped. Sky took out a small scanner linked to her laptop. It beeped quietly, picking up strange energy signals. These readings, she said, same energy signature as the dome we saw on the satellite feed. Daniel pointed to a large structure further ahead. That might be the power source. They walked toward it, passing more ruined homes. In one window, a child's toy sat untouched on the sill. In another, an old radio still had a government sticker. Property of Jacoba Communications Division. This place was fully developed, Daniel said. Schools, post offices, power grid. This wasn't just some secret outpost. It really was a functioning state. Rico stopped suddenly. His eyes locked on a rusted sign barely poking out of the dirt. He brushed away sand slowly. The sign read, Welcome to Jacoba East. 1991 population. 43,212. Everyone stared. Sky whispered, Over 40,000 people lived here. Not just lived, Rico said. They vanished. Overnight. Daniel walked toward the large concrete building at the edge of town. It was half collapsed with strange burn marks along the walls. Above the door, faded letters spelled, Civic Operations, Central Vault. They entered cautiously. Inside was a massive hall, filled with filing cabinets, monitors, and consoles. Thick dust coated everything. Lena turned on a flashlight. It's like they left in a hurry. Some computers are still on emergency power. Sky jumped into action, connecting her laptop to one of the mainframes. The old screen blinked, then loaded a login prompt. Security was high, she said. But this system is based on Cold War tech. I can break in. A minute later, lines of old data appeared. Government memos. Emergency reports, civilian evacuations, test site schedules. Then Sky found something big. Project Jacob's Core Level 5 clearance only. She cracked it open. A black and white video loaded. Grainy footage. A group of scientists in suits stood inside a control room watching a monitor. A man in a lab coat spoke to the camera. Day 39. The entity beneath Jacoba is showing signs of neural response. Energy pulses are increasing. The dome isn't just a container, it's thinking. Daniel froze. That's why the government erased this town. It wasn't just a failed experiment. It was something alive and dangerous. Sky found another folder. Inside were classified disappearance records. Dozens of people. Rico's eyes widened as he read one. Subject: Javier Cruz status. Transfer to Site B subject stable. Exposure complete, Javier Rico whispered. He was here, alive, taken to Site B. Sky zoomed in on the document. Coordinates. Daniel grabbed a pen. That's our next stop. But just then, they heard it. A sound in the distance. Engines. Lots of them. Lena ran to the window. We've got company. Daniel peeked outside. Black SUVs, military grade. Closing in fast. They tracked us, Sky said. Maybe from the earlier upload. Maybe they always knew we'd come here. Daniel closed the laptop and yanked the hard drive. We have what we need. Let's go. They ran out of the vault and into the dying light. The town of Jacoba glowed with the last rays of the sun, as if waking up one last time before disappearing forever. Back in the truck, Daniel floored the gas. As they sped away, they could see flashlights moving through the ruins. The government had arrived, but they were too late. The truth was now in the hands of those willing to risk everything. Jacoba wasn't lost anymore. It was found, and what they would discover next could change the world. The desert was silent again. After hours of high-speed chase and narrow escapes, the team had set up a small camp just off an abandoned road. The truck was parked behind large boulders for cover. A small fire flickered, giving off just enough light to see each other's faces. Everyone was tired, but no one could sleep. Sky sat cross-legged on a blanket, staring at the loading screen on her laptop. Upload status? 97%. We're almost there, she said softly. Lena held the old document they found in the bunker. It's still hard to believe. The U.S. almost had a whole extra state and they just erased it like it never existed. Daniel stared into the fire, and not just erased, they buried it. Fences, patrols, and secret tech. Rico checked his shotgun and sat beside them, which means someone important wanted this hidden, badly. Daniel turned to Sky. What's in the files? The parts we didn't read yet. Sky nodded and opened the last batch. There's one document I haven't shown you. I was saving it. She hesitated, then shared the screen with the group. It was a classified memo dated April 1992, exactly 4 months before the final log entry in the bunker. Subject: Phase 3, relocation and containment due to uncontrolled exposure. All remaining civilian inhabitants in the Jacoba region are to be transferred to alternate locations under protective cover. Scientific reports suggest continued activity from Site B, posing health risks and psychological anomalies. Recommend permanent sealing of territory and asset disposal. Full erasure protocol to follow. Lena frowned. Relocation? What does that mean? They moved people. Daniel leaned forward. And what's Site B? Sky clicked open another file. It was a grainy satellite image, showing a second location several miles west of the bunker they had already explored. But this site wasn't a bunker. It was a crater. Big, round, scorched black. In the center was a massive dome-shaped structure, half buried with cracks glowing faintly red. What the hell is that? Rico muttered. It's still hot, Sky said, pointing to the temperature readings. Even after 30 years. Daniel stared at it, then flipped through the photos in the folder. Strange lights, twisted metal. Notes from scientists saying things like energy spikes during solar activity, unidentified structure of unknown origin nonative materials. Team 3 reported hallucinations and memory loss after exposure. Lena's hand covered her mouth. They weren't just hiding a territory. They were hiding something else, something inside Jacoba. Daniel whispered, this wasn't just about land. It was about whatever they found or built at Site B. Then Rico spoke, his voice low. My brother. He was stationed in Arizona in the 90s. Special military assignment. He disappeared in 92. No body. No answers. Just gone. Everyone turned to look at him. You think it was here? Lena asked gently. Rico nodded. Now I do. Silence fell again, heavy and real. Sky's laptop beeped. Upload complete. The files were now on multiple servers, cloud drives, and underground forums. Too late to stop. It's done, Sky said. The world's gonna know. But as the weight of what they'd done settled in, Daniel noticed something strange on the screen. A live feed. From one of the hidden cameras at Site B, it was active. It was moving. A figure dressed in a faded military uniform was walking along the edge of the dome. Slowly, alone. Who is that? Lena asked. Sky zoomed in. The face was blurry, but familiar. Rico gasped. That's my brother. Daniel looked at him. Are you sure? I know his walk. I know his stance. That's him. After all these years. But how? Lena whispered. The screen flickered. Then it went black.
Ow.
No signal. No. Sky tapped keys fast. Feed's gone. It was real, I swear. Rico stood slowly, stunned. He's alive. Or something's keeping him alive. Daniel's voice was firm now. Then we go there. Tomorrow. You want to go to Site B? Lena asked, shocked. After everything we've seen? Yes, Daniel said. That's the heart of this mystery. The map, the base, the erased state, it all leads there. To whatever they found in that crater. Everyone went quiet again. The fire crackled softly. Somewhere in the darkness, coyotes howled. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Rico said quietly, if my brother's alive down there, I need to know. Daniel nodded, and we finished what we started. The team sat under the stars, silent but united. They had uncovered the truth behind Jacoba, but what lay beneath the earth might be even more dangerous than secrets. And now, they were going straight toward it. Morning came slowly over the desert. The sky turned from deep black to dusty orange, casting long shadows across the hills. It should have felt peaceful, but the team knew the calm wouldn't last. Daniel stood next to the truck, checking supplies. Sky recharged her laptop using a solar pack, reviewing the files one more time. Rico loaded weapons in silence. Lena sipped warm, instant coffee, her hands shaking slightly. We leave in 10, Daniel said. Their next destination. Site B, the strange, dome-like structure seen on the hidden surveillance feed, the place where Rico's missing brother had appeared. Somehow alive after 30 years, but they weren't the only ones awake that morning. As they packed up, a dust cloud appeared on the horizon. Vehicle approaching, Lena said, peering through binoculars. Rico raised his gun. SUV. Same kind that chased us before. Daniel squinted. They tracked the upload. They know we're still out here. The SUV stopped about 50 feet away. No one got out. For a moment, it was just silence and heat. Then a man in a black suit stepped out. He wasn't armed. He didn't rush. Walked slowly toward them with calm confidence, as if he already knew how this conversation would end. Daniel motioned everyone to stay back and stepped forward. The man stopped just short of the fire pit. His suit was sharp, his face clean-shaven, his eyes cold. Mr. Carter, he said, looking at Daniel. Daniel didn't answer. You've caused quite a situation, the man continued. Leaking classified material, trespassing on federal land, putting civilians in danger. Daniel crossed his arms. What is Jacoba, really? What's under Site B? The man smiled thinly. You're not cleared to know that. Sky stepped beside Daniel, holding her laptop. It's too late, she said. We've already shared everything. People are reading the files right now. You can't stop it. The man didn't seem angry, just disappointed. You think the public will care? He said. They'll see old maps, blurry pictures, and think it's just another desert myth. But you broke federal law. You'll disappear, just like Jacoba did. Rico stepped forward now. Is that what happened to my brother? Did you make him disappear? The man finally showed emotion. His jaw tightened. There are forces at play you don't understand. Site B is not part of the official record. Never was. Daniel narrowed his eyes.
Oh, yes.
What is it? The man ignored the question and looked directly at Rico. Your brother volunteered.
How?
What happened to him wasn't our choice. Rico raised his gun. Then take me to him, or what? The man asked calmly. You'll shoot in broad daylight? In front of your friends? Daniel stepped between them. We're going to Site B, whether you help us or not. The man looked at him for a long time. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. I figured you'd say that, which is why I brought this. He pulled a small device from his coat, shiny, metallic, and unfamiliar. Before anyone could react, he pressed a button. A low hum filled the air. The earth beneath them trembled slightly. Behind him, the SUV's roof opened, and from inside rose a drone the size of a motorcycle. It hovered silently, scanning them. You're being tracked now, the man said. Every step you take towards Site B will be watched. Recorded if you get too close. The drone will act. Lena stepped forward. So that's it? You threaten us? Then follow us to see what happens? The man looked at her, then slowly turned to walk back toward his vehicle. Before getting in, he paused. One last thing, he said, without turning around. If you see the door at Site B, don't open it. Some things should stay sealed. Then he was gone. The SUV turned around and disappeared into the desert, the drone still floating high above like a hawk. Sky turned to Daniel. He's bluffing. The drone doesn't have weapons. It's just surveillance. Can't be sure, Lena said. He could be telling the truth. Rico looked up. I don't care what's flying above us. If my brother's there, I'm going. Daniel looked at them all. Same here. You didn't come this far to stop now. He grabbed the map, marked Site B again, and circled the crater. This ends today, he said. One way or another. They packed the truck quickly and hit the road. The sun was higher now, turning the desert into a shimmering sea of heat. The drone followed, silent and steady. An hour later, they reached the edge of Site B. The ground turned black, burned. Strange cracks ran across the surface. Something had tried to break out from below. And at the center, just like in the photo, stood the dome, cracked, glowing faintly, waiting. Daniel stepped out first. The others followed. No guards, no soldiers, just silence. In one big metal door, the kind meant to keep something locked away, or keep people out. Rico walked toward it slowly, eyes wide. This is where he is, he whispered. I can feel it. Daniel reached for the door's handle. Sky whispered, Are we really doing this? Daniel didn't look back. We have to. Then he pulled. The door let out a deep, ancient groan and opened. What they saw inside would change everything, forever. The metal door opened with a heavy groan that echoed into the silence. A blast of cold air rushed out, as if the dome had been holding its breath for decades. Daniel stepped in first. Sky turned on her flashlight and shined it forward. They were inside a huge, circular chamber. The walls were smooth and black, unlike any metal they had seen before, like glass, but not glass. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. Lena whispered, What is this place? At the center of the dome was a large platform. Wires hung from the ceiling, some still sparking. Lying in the middle was a pod. It was about 7 feet long. Glass top, something inside. Rico ran forward. "Wait," Daniel called out. But Rico was already beside the pod. His hands were shaking. Inside, a man lay still as closed, hooked to wires and sensors, pale, unmoving, but breathing. Rico's voice cracked.
That's him.
"That's my brother, Javier." Sky scanned the control panel beside the pod. "He's alive, in stasis, some kind of induced sleep, but his body hasn't aged." Daniel stepped beside her. "He's been in here for over 30 years. Lena walked slowly around the pod, looking at the symbols carved into the wall. "These aren't military markings," she said. "They're not even in English." "No," Sky said, staring at one glowing panel. "They're not from here at all." Daniel frowned. "You mean not from Earth?" She nodded slowly. "This dome wasn't built by the U.S. government. They found it. Buried under the desert. Jacobo was a cover to study it. That's what the files meant by non-native materials." Rico looked down at his brother. "Then why put him in it?" Sky tapped on the pod's display. "They were experimenting, seeing how the structure reacts to human biology." Javier might have been the first, or the last. Lena turned pale. This wasn't a military test site. It was a containment zone. Suddenly, the dome pulsed. A deep vibration ran through the floor. The pod began glowing brighter. Lights on the walls turned blue, then red, then off. The room trembled. Daniel shouted, "What did we do?" Sky looked at the control panel. "The system is reacting to us. Our presence woke it up. It thinks the test is starting again." More lights activated. From the far side of the room, a wall slid open, revealing a second chamber, even deeper. Inside were 3 more pods. 2 were empty. One still held a body, long, thin, gray-skinned, not human. Lena stepped back. "Oh my God. It's a vault," Daniel whispered. "A prison for them. For us. This whole place, it's like a lab, or worse." Then Rico screamed. Javier's eyes opened. But they were not normal. They were glowing. Javier gasped and sat up, breathing hard. He looked around, confused, shaking. Where am I?" we asked weakly. Rico rushed to his side. "Javi, it's me. You're safe now. I'm here." But Javier didn't recognize him. He looked past Rico, his gaze locked on the glowing wall. Slowly, he spoke again, but this time, in a language no one understood. Then the dome responded. Lights began to flash. Symbols lit up. A new hum filled the air. "Something's wrong," Sky said. "He's connected to it." The pod changed him. Daniel pulled Rico back. "We need to shut this down now." Sky tapped furiously on the console. "I don't know how. The system is alien. It's using him as a bridge human mind, alien tech." Suddenly, the wall cracked open, and a pulse of energy shot across the room. It hit the ceiling, blasting a hole through the top of the dome. Sunlight poured in, and so did the drone. It hovered directly above the hole, scanning them again. Then it backed off. Daniel looked up. They saw everything. More rumbling. Outside, vehicles were approaching. Dust trails on the horizon. "We've got company," Lena said. "Lots of them." Rico grabbed his brother's arm. "We're not leaving him." "We won't," Daniel said. "But we have to shut this place down before it activates something worse." Javier looked around again, his eyes starting to clear. He reached toward the panel and placed his hand on a glowing circle. Everything stopped. The lights dimmed. The pulsing stopped. The energy faded. The dome went silent. Sky stared. He controlled it. He shut it down. Daniel looked at Rico. "Your brother just saved us." Sirens wailed outside. The government was closing in. Daniel turned to the others. "We take him and run. We tell the truth. Let the world decide what comes next." Lena nodded, but we're out of time. Javier slowly stood, weak but awake. Rico held him up. Together they left the dome, stepping into the bright desert sun. And behind them, the dome sealed itself like it had never opened. Whatever had been buried was awake now. The world would never be the same. The team raced across the desert, the truck bouncing over rough ground. Behind them, black SUVs and military trucks kicked up clouds of dust. But they had something the government didn't. Javier, he sat in the back seat, weak but awake, supported by Rico. His eyes flickered between glowing and normal. His body was human but changed. Is he stable? Daniel asked, keeping his eyes on the road. Sky glanced back. For now. But he's still linked to that alien system. Like part of it never let go. Then we keep moving, Daniel said. We just need a signal. They weren't going to hide. They were going to tell the world. Lena was already prepping the broadcast gear in the Baca satellite dish, a laptop, and a hidden transmitter they'd stolen from the government jeep 2 days earlier. It could break through any digital block. 10 miles later, they reached the top of a ridge. Here, Sky said. This spot's high enough. Strong signal. They parked, jumped out, and started setting up the broadcast station. Sky typed quickly, her fingers shaking. The laptop screen showed. Global uplink. 68%. 84%. Connected. She opened the files. Photos of the dome. The alien pods. The military logs. A full map of Jacoba, proof that it had existed and been erased. She added a live video feed. Daniel stepped into frame, speaking clearly. To everyone watching this, we've uncovered something hidden for decades. The 51st state called Jacoba was erased from all records. But what was buried there is bigger than politics. It's not just a cover-up. It's a warning. Behind him, Rico stepped into view, holding his brother. This is Javier, he said. He disappeared 30 years ago. The government said he died, but they kept him inside a buried alien facility. They used him. Lena spoke next. The dome under Jacoba isn't human. It's older, smarter, and it's waking up. Sky clicked, go live.
Ow!
The stream hit over 400,000 viewers in 30 seconds. Then 1 million. Then 3. Comments exploded. Is this real? That's the missing state from 1992. That man hasn't aged. The truth was out. But so were the black helicopters. They're here, Lena shouted. Coming fast. Sky switched the feed to auto-upload across servers. They can't shut it down. No, it's everywhere. Daniel looked at Javier. Can you stop them? Javier stood slowly, trembling. His hand lit up, glowing blue lines pulsed beneath his skin. I can protect you, he said softly. But I don't think I'm meant to leave. No, Rico shouted. You just got back. Javier smiled gently. I'm not the same Hermano. That place changed me. Feel it. I hear it. The dome. It's calling me back. Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to go back alone. But Javier shook his head. I'm the key now. I can keep it quiet or open it forever. The ground rumbled. In the distance, the dome pulsed one last time. The team looked back as the helicopters circled. Soldiers rappelled down. Trucks swarmed the base of the ridge. Time was running out. Go, Javier said. Live. Rico hugged his brother tight. Won't make this a goodbye. Javier whispered. It's not. I'll always be part of this world now, even if I'm underneath it. Then, without another word, he walked to the edge of the ridge and disappeared. Not down the mountain, not behind a rock. He simply vanished into light. Daniel stared. He went back to the dome. Sky's laptop beeped. Blowed complete. Distributed to 18 global servers. The feed was unstoppable now. Governments across the world were seeing it. News stations. Internet forums. Live TV. Millions of people now knew about Jacoba, the dome, and the lies. The soldiers arrived too late. By the time they surrounded the team, it was over. A voice shouted on the ground. Hands up. Daniel didn't move. You've already lost. The soldiers paused. One of them looked at his phone, his eyes wide. Sir, he said into the radio. It's already global. He streamed the whole thing. Back at the dome, something else happened. The sky above cracked with lightning. The black glass surface of the dome began to shift, changing shape, shrinking. And then, as if responding to Javier's presence, it sealed itself forever. No door, no light, just smooth, endless desert. Jacoba had gone back to sleep. Epilogue. 1 month later, the world changed. News agencies confirmed parts of Jacoba's history. The dome was studied from satellite. It was there, but no one could open it again. People demanded answers. Some called it a hoax. Others called it the truth we were never meant to know. But one thing was certain. Javier Carter's face, glowing eyes, and all was now a symbol, a mystery, a warning, a legend. And the final words of Daniel Carter's broadcast were replayed a million times. History isn't just what's remembered, it's also what's buried, and some stories come back.